Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a very special episode. I am joined tonight by Tramp. Tramp, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well, Bobby. How are you?
I am doing well, so it sounds like in the back there you guys are having a bit of a bowling game going on. Everything okay?
Everything is fine. It is fine.
All right, perfect. So why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
So I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I am a social worker. I work in law. I became very obsessed with this case when I started learning about the victims and how much they were being neglected, not taken care of, and what needed to happen. I fell in love with your podcast when I think at that time you might have had 100 listeners. I think you're over 100,000 now, as well you should be. And whatever we can do to help these victims, that's what we're going to do.
And that's what makes this audience so great. All of the listeners of this show are so proactive as far as this case goes. And that's why I wanted to do this and, interact with you folks a little bit more. And Tramp is the first person to get a chance to co-host a segment with me. But we're going to
I'm so
special. Yeah, definitely. You most certainly are. The inaugural episode. This is legendary right now. We're making history. So every month we're going to do the same thing. I will choose one of you listeners to join me and co-host a segment, and we'll go through an article like usual, and we'll keep the ball rolling. So you ready to jump into the article?
I am. Let's roll into it.
All right. So today's article is from the Toronto Sun. The author is Brad Hunter, and the headline is Epstein. Prince Andrew should have been fired in 2011. And you know what? I don't think that truer words have ever been spoken. What say you?
I completely agree with that.
This is a guy who grew up in splendor. He had everything he wanted given to him. The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family could have had the whole world. Instead, he chose to hang out and cavort with a pedophile and other sick, depraved individuals. I have no remorse for him. And I really don't see how anyone could still have his back at this point. But there are a few loyalists left out there.
Well, there are, and that is a problem for me. It bothers me. First of all, I refuse to call them royals anymore. They're grifters. And the monarchy is just sort of crumbling apart. Prince Andrew, I get in his younger days, he was Randy Andy and all these silly names. The fact of the matter is he was a pedophile.
Yeah.
Well, and he should have been called out a long time ago.
And not only just that, right? If we put that to the side and say people didn't have any idea that he liked younger girls until Virginia outed him, right? And we just put that to the side. All of the other things he was involved in financially and all of these slush funds and all of these bank transactions between all of these people, I don't understand how that alone didn't initiate an investigation.
But nobody ever said a word.
Nope.
The taxpayers kept paying his bills and the grifters kept grifting.
And the game kept being played.
All right. Correct, sir.
All right, so Prince Andrew's handlers should have told the Queen to put Buckingham Palace bad boy on ice at the first hint the Jeffrey Epstein scandal was poised to explode. Well, yeah, no shit. That's probably the best advice I've heard from anyone in the Buckingham camp at this point. Because the beginning of this, when this all first started, they should have put him up as a sacrificial lamb to save the royal family and to show that they have some empathy for these survivors. Instead, what they did is they dug themselves a hole, and now, well, they are stuck in it.
Correct.
A new book said much of the damage done to the monarchy could have been avoided if royal courtiers had moved more quickly. Well, in my opinion, Tramp, this is just another excuse for them to have another fall guy, another fall person, so the Queen doesn't look bad. It's the courtier's fault. In my opinion, Tramp, it's the Queen's fault. She has the power. She's the Queen. She makes the decisions.
And that is exactly what she should have done. Look, I live in the U.S. I don't know a whole lot about the monarchy. What I do know is when something like this happens, You don't go riding on horses the next day to show your support for somebody who molested and participated in perverted things and supported Epstein. She should have put her foot down then.
Oh, there's no doubt. I definitely agree. Growing up Italian, there is zero chance that would have ever occurred in my life. My mother would have grabbed me by the ear and dragged me to the FBI house, even if I was an adult. And that's after I got my ass beat with a wooden spoon.
Exactly.
So I don't know what the hell's going on over there in this, this so-called royal house with these so-called elites. But I'll tell you what, it stinks from the very top.
It absolutely does. And it's incredible to me. We're reading this article that you're reading from, but we keep reading the articles wherein, which I refuse to call him Prince. So pervert Andrew keeps reiterating that he didn't know Virginia Roberts. And that picture was doctored, and he didn't know what happened. Knock it off.
Yeah, and he expects us to believe it.
You knew.
Right. He expects us to believe that because for so long, their narrative has been bought and it's been chowed down hook, line, and sinker, and everybody has asked for seconds. Well, those days are over. We're no longer, we no longer are beholden to the legacy media. We end around them now, and we get our information from independent journalists and independent content creators and people that have a track record of being honest.
Absolutely. It's people like you and Lisa and Jen from The Prince and the Pervert that actually keep the narrative appropriate, perfect, and accurate.
That's the only way to cover this case. There's too much background noise, there's too much misinformation, and there's too much muddying of the waters. And I just don't like to participate in that. My format is very straightforward, and I try not to deviate from that.
And you do not. And that's why we all follow you.
Thanks. Author Nigel Cawthorne has claimed in his book, Prince Andrew, Epstein and the Palace, that the floundering prince should have been put on ice years earlier. Andrew has been drawn into the sordid world of his longtime pal, Epstein, who died mysteriously in his New York jail cell last summer while awaiting sex trafficking charges. And one of the shady financier's sex slaves claims she had underage sex with the prince 3 times. And we know they're talking about Virginia there. And from where I'm sitting and from everything I have seen, her story is unassailable at this point.
Oh, she has the receipts. We know this. She's come with the proof. There's no doubt.
And I really don't understand how anyone can deny it. And we have Douchey Dershey, who is at every turn trying to drag her name through the mud when he's had all of these years to produce all of this evidence he's always yapping about, but we still have not seen one bit of evidence provided by Mr. I kept my underpants on.
Pants on. Yeah, Mr. Underpants, Captain Underpants.
It's an absolute...
Captain Underpants has not proven anything.
Not a word. And, it's the same exact story with Prince Andrew. He has all of these, these statements and these canned statements by Buckingham Palace that go into the whole, well, he has never done anything and he's not involved, but with no evidence. And I don't know about you, but from where I'm sitting, my perspective, a case like this, we're going to need to see the receipts.
Well, sorry, I apologize. There's been no evidence that he's provided. The only thing Dershowitz, sorry, that's going to be my name for him, has provided is a lawsuit after a lawsuit after a lawsuit, which has gone nowhere.
They don't even get to discovery phase, and that's always his plan. His plan is always to muddy the waters, slow things down, and try and formulate a way for him to wiggle out on a technicality. It has nothing to do with being innocent or guilty in the American system anymore. It has to do with finding the loophole, having enough money to pay a douche like Dershowitz, and then exploiting those loopholes. And we've seen it in this case from the very beginning.
Correct. And that is the thing with Dershowitz, because he is a bright lawyer. He knows the loopholes. He knows how to get in and out of those little critters, where he can come and go.
Oh, there's no doubt. If anyone knows how to navigate the system, it's this smarmy son of a bitch. Yep, no doubt about it. In the now famous photo of Andrew, Epstein's alleged pimp, Co-conspirator, fellow child molester, Ghislaine Maxwell, and schoolgirl Virginia Roberts, the prince has his arm around the underage girl's waist. Maxwell has denied doing anything wrong and is currently in hiding. And this is the picture that you were referring to earlier when you said that there was, photographic evidence of the two being together, even though the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family says he has never met her. It is just an absolute bald-faced lie. Nobody believes him. Not the polar bears, not the penguins, certainly not Bobby, and most certainly not Tramp.
And most certainly not the Queen.
Oh, well, the Queen knows. She deep in her heart, in my opinion, she knows the deal, but she does not want to accept it. She doesn't want to come to the reality and come to the conclusion that her favorite son has very disgusting proclivities.
Incredible proclivities. Her favorite son and the other son, and then Lord Mountbatten. So you can kind of go through that monarchy, Bobby. Think about that.
Oh, there's no doubt. I've said it from the very beginning. I have no use for something as archaic as a monarchy. I have no use for a queen, and I certainly have no use for people who live off of taxpayer dollars but have no accountability to those very same taxpayers. It kind of sounds like our own Congress and Senate, doesn't it?
It sounds a lot like what we're dealing with here, doesn't it?
Pretty amazing how that works, huh? All of the bloviating, all of the blowhards talking about our independence, but yet we still have our own day modern aristocracy, and nobody, I mean nobody, is standing up to them and telling them no more. Well, nobody was. That party is over.
Well, you are exactly right, and I'm going to say this. If it wasn't for the independent journalists like you, nobody would get the real report, because the media doesn't tell you this. Everybody can pick their favorite legacy media, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, whatever it is. They don't true report it, and this is why all of us have hooked on to your podcast and to Jen and Lisa's podcast, and why we've reached out to that, why we listen to it, because you can't get the accurate news anymore.
Exactly. You know, they have set themselves up for this. For years and years, they have continuously lied to us, be it the war in Iraq, be it 9/11, you name it. They have never, ever been transparent with us. Remember, we're their boss. And they have decided that they don't want oversight. They have decided that they will do whatever they think promotes the interests of the country, whatever that even means. But
exactly,
those days are over, because the parasitic relationship that they had with the legacy media, like you were just talking about, is no longer valid, because people like you and other listeners have chosen to no longer be lied to no longer be gaslit, and to search out the truth for yourselves.
And that is an absolute fact. And when you speak with the victims, Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, the girls who have survived through this, you realize it's important to listen to the actual real media reporters. And that is people like you who do the research. You're kind of, my story for you, when I explain you to people, you are the Walter Cronkite of the media. Because Walter Cronkite would always get up and talk about the law, the news, but he wouldn't say what was legal, what wasn't legal, who was there, who wasn't there. Like, they didn't have the commentators. It was just, here's what happened. And that is exactly what you do. And you say, hey, folks, here's what happened. It's up to us to decide what's real or not real. That's how it should be reported.
That's absolutely right. I'm not in the business of making anyone's opinion up for them. My job here is to report what's going on in this case and break it down the way I see it as it's happening. And like I always stress, I really stress that everybody does their own research. Do not just take what I say or anyone else says for granted. Read the articles yourself. Read between the lines. Because at the end of the day, when you get used to that and you know that you're being lied to by the legacy media, so you get into the habit of reading between the lines, well, you start to find that the pieces start to make a lot more sense and the puzzle starts to form.
It does. All of a sudden, you know how you do the puzzle and you put the edgings out? All of a sudden, the middle pieces fit in.
That's funny how that works, huh?
And it's here's the thing, Bobby. You, I, anyone else that's involved and so far down the rabbit hole on this case, we will do whatever it takes to help these victims. They should have 1,000% support from all of the people. But people don't listen to actual truth. It's the legacy media.
Yeah, and the thing is, they have for so long, they cornered the market on information. So people are programmed to only believe what they hear from the legacy media. And even if you have a track record of being right, if you don't have the moniker or the name behind you, it's very difficult for you to build credibility. That's why for me, I take it very seriously every single time I get on here and I do a segment. I feel like I have a responsibility to be as truthful and as fair as I possibly can be.
Well, I'll say this part. I like it when you're not fair. I like it when you're truthful. You don't have to be fair. You're just truthful. You're honest. You're compassionate, and you're helping the victims. And that's all we can do.
Yep, and for me, I have to be fair because it's the only way that I can clinically approach this and not be biased one way or the other. I take a very clinical approach as a journalist to everything, and I look at everything from a very neutral point of view, and I let the evidence form my opinion. And it seems like a lot of people are going into these things with these preconceived notions about who the bad guys are, when in reality, everybody involved is the bad guy.
Correct. They're all bad. They all knew. They're all in on it.
The photo was taken just 3 months after Epstein had been released from prison on an underage sex conviction. Cawthorn believes Andrew should have stepped down then. The Epstein affair had dragged on since the picture with Andrew first appeared in 2011 and seemed to find no conclusion. The author writes, "There was growing anger at Andrew among courtiers. In truth, it had kind of been their job to guard the crown from the kind of turbulence it was in. I take umbrage with that statement because it's Andrew's job, not the courtier's job, for his behavior to be reined in. If you have some sick proclivities, my friend, you better bury them down deep or seek some help. You are the Prince of England. Have some act right."
Yes, but remember, you're talking about the fact that he's the Prince of England. He doesn't have to take responsibility for anything. He's gotten to run around and done whatever he wanted.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, but it is up to the people to hold him responsible. And now that everybody is starting to wake up and people like you are taking more notice of this case and people in England are taking more notice of what's occurring, you're seeing the tide turn. And the fact that he's just the Prince of England or a so-called elite, that's not good enough anymore. And you see it with the barrage that he's taking, the full frontal that Prince Andrew, aka the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, is getting right now is something that is beautiful to behold.
It is fantastic. And I will also tell you, Maria Farmer's painting that we're getting put into print. So we're having that put into print, making them into postcards. And my job is to mail the castle those prints every damn day. These victims deserve justice. This man should come forward, say, "Hey, man, you know what? I fucked up. I did something bad." He should take responsibility. He's not doing it. He's hiding behind mommy's apron, or at least the maid's apron, whatever the royals do. And there's no responsibility. At what point do you just say, "You know what? I was wrong"?
Oh, you have to have a moral compass that isn't broken, and you have to not be a narcissist to take responsibility for your actions. And one thing that is certainly clear is all of these people are suffering from narcissism.
Oh yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? The country pays for you.
Yeah, when you're born in purple like that and you had everything handed to you, why should
Correct.
you think that you have to dance to the same beat that the petty commoners do?
Yep. And there you go. It's okay because us little people rely on you big people with a platform that have the mouth that can speak for us. So we stand behind you and we yell and scream and cheer. That's what we do because we know you're going to make a difference. It might take a little while, but it's going to get there.
That's another reason why I wanted to do this this whole promotion with having somebody from the audience come on, because at the end of the day, for me, I'm just a small little piece of this. It's all of you that really drive this engine. I'm just, like the operator. It's
you have that backwards. You're the operator that got the people on the train. If you didn't have the operator to drive the train, the people wouldn't have gotten on. And we all got on with you because we realized, hey, wait a minute. Bobby is saying something that makes sense. He's talking about these articles. Like, we've gone through all, everything. We've broken it down. And remember, when he got arrested, nobody really knew who he was or what had happened. You really put him on a platform where we could all experience, holy shit, this is what this guy did. Your platform opened up a wormhole that we could all see and understand. So I don't know if you know it or not, but I hear from people all day long how much they love and respect you and appreciate what you do. If it wasn't for you and girls like Jen and Lisa that actually tell the truth and open up what this thing is, nobody would know. Hollywood, they're just going to hide it.
There's no doubt, and that is very humbling to hear that, and I take that sort of responsibility very seriously to make sure that I stay on point, because at the end of the day, for me, I dance to my own beat. I don't have corporate sponsors. I've turned down all the corporate sponsors that have offered to, sponsor my show. I saw
that, and I also saw that you turned down the interviews.
Yeah, I have no desire, because it's not about me. This isn't about me.
Correct.
This is about the survivors and getting them justice. If it was up to me, I'd still be talking about MMA on my other podcast or on the radio. This is depressing shit. I don't want to do this every day, but guess what? I felt like nobody was doing it correctly. Nobody was covering it correctly. So that is why I stepped up and I started covering it the way I did. And I'm just human too. I certainly don't know everything, and I make it clear all the time that I only know what I know. But I will tell you this. One thing is for sure, I will not stop digging until we get to the point where there is some justice for these survivors.
There will be justice. I will say that. So Filthy Rich, I had bought that book when things kind of came out and it was written. I did watch the documentary. Whatever my feelings are about it, what I will tell you is I'm happy that is bringing awareness to the victims. And that's all we can ask for. Whether we agree with the interviews and what happened, I don't think some of the victims were treated properly. I know Virginia had a little problem with it, what have you. But the bottom line is it brought awareness and it made people aware of what's happening.
For sure. It was a good entry point for people who aren't familiar with the case.
Correct.
All right, so back to the article. He added, a sabbatical from royal engagements in 2011 would have taken the prince out of the public eye. Instead, the court let headlines fester for the Queen and only acted after the prince's Newsnight debacle. If anyone's apology to the survivors and the Queen was overdue, it was theirs, the courtiers. And again, they're blaming the courtiers here and not Prince Andrew. The fact of the matter is the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, a.k.a. the Prince of Toads, a.k.a. the Prince of Lies, a.k.a. the Prince of Punk Asses. He is the one who is responsible. He was the one hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. He is the one that was doing what he did to Virginia, and he is the one ultimately responsible, not the courtiers.
Correct.
U.S. prosecutors still want to interview the petulant prince about Epstein, but the royal is refusing and claims American authorities have broken confidentiality rules and told complete lies. Andrew has long denied any wrongdoing and claims he doesn't remember ever meeting Roberts. Yeah, okay, sure. That picture, you know what? You might as well try the Jedi mind trick on us next, because you're at a loss when it comes to actual defenses.
Didn't have a letter from the FBI that absolutely says the picture is real?
And not only that, the person, there's a gentleman from New Zealand, a photographer from New Zealand, who saw the original photograph, who also came out and said that the photograph is legit.
Right.
And I forget the gentleman's name. I did a segment on him, but he's like a well-respected photographer in the industry, somebody that has worked with governments, et cetera, somebody that knows his shit.
It absolutely was legit. And here's the other factor. So Ghislaine is in the back. Andrew has her arm around Virginia. Then there's a railing going on. So Sean Atwood had gone up and stuck to the house and had somebody open the door because she was still in hiding, and he took pictures of the house. So you can see the white railing and the upstairs where Virginia was standing. Really?
Yeah.
It's fake? Okay.
Exactly. Right. These people, they really think we're going to buy their narrative, but I'm here to tell you, and Tramp is here to tell you, that party is over. The year 2020 is the year that the predator turns into the prey.
We got him, and those victims deserve every ounce of justice.
Well, Tramp, thank you so much for joining me on this inaugural episode.
Bobby, thank you for having me. And the only other thing I have to say is #Epstein didn't kill himself. And, we'll just keep on keeping on with what we're doing and keep on doing what you're doing. And we will support all of the victims and everyone that can help. And thank you very much. It was a complete privilege. And you do amazing work. Do not give up on what you do.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. Now I'm in it. I think it's 260 plus straight days without missing an episode.
I know. I had to catch up for 5 episodes. And I was like, damn, how many does he have?
I know. Over 500 in the catalog now. So for those of you out there who are looking for something to listen to, you have found your spot. And for the rest of you who have been with us from the beginning or in the middle, or you just jumped on, I sincerely appreciate all of you. And this new segment that we have here, like the one that we just did with Tramp, this segment is for you, the listeners of this show, the people who have supported me, and for everybody who has shown up, showed out, and got ready to fight for these survivors. If you'd like
I can't wait to hear the next listener. It's going to be awesome, Bobby. Everybody's going to have their little piece to say, and it gives a little bit different perspective.
That's right, and it's all worthy of being added to the catalog. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Inside of the description box, you will find you won't find the link because there's no, you will find a link. We have an article tonight. So you'll find the link to the article. And if you'd like to help out the podcast, there is a link to the GoFundMe account. All right, everybody, we will be back tomorrow and we will do it all over again. Thank you, Tramp.
Thank you, Bobby. Keep keeping on.